It's the Agribusiness Report. I'm Tony St. James, and we're joined today by the Honorable Dan Newhouse. He represents the 4th Congressional District of Washington. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Tony. It's great to be with you. It's been
I
a
was
while.
just recounting the first time I met you was a few years ago. However, you were a member at the time of the House Ag Committee. How many terms now in Congress?
So I'm in my second year of my 5th term. So yeah, working on almost 10. It's gone by quickly too, let me tell you.
Your background is farming.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea that you'd end up someday in Congress?
I never ever woke up in the morning and said, "Hey, I want to go to Congress." That was never part of my plan. You're right. I'm 3rd generation. My son's 4th generation farm in the Yakima Valley. Been very engaged in some of the, agricultural organizations, Farm Bureau, Hop Growers of America, those kind of things. I did run for state legislature, was able to do that for 4 terms, and then served as the director of the Department of Agriculture for the state of Washington. But none of that time did I ever think I would ever have the opportunity to come to Congress. But things have a way of working out, and the opportunity was there, and it was a great chance for me to continue my public service and represent an area that is my home, is a place that I love, and to talk about things that are so impactful and important to the people in my district, like the agricultural industry. It's just been a true honor.
Well, and we think of ag and Congress, and the Farm Bill seems to be kind of top of mind there, but how important is it when you see a need to step up and do something? I'm talking about you probably would love to be home farming, but you stepped up and came to Congress. How important is it to get involved?
Well, let me tell you, and you're right. It's springtime, it's a busy time on the farm. I'd love to be home with my son Devin and be helping him out. But you know what? The thing that I've come to realize here very quickly is there are not a lot of people in Congress that actually are from farms. I'm one of maybe a dozen and a half out of 535 people that actually can say they're farmers or ranchers. And so we truly have a challenge when we're trying to tell our story and educate people that really have no idea. Not that they're bad people, they just don't know what it's like to experience and live the challenges of trying to be successful in agriculture. And so that's a huge responsibility, and we've got the small group of us that are in here making the case for agriculture. We've got to work at it every single day, and I think that's so important. It really is, because agriculture is one of those things. It not only do we feed our population of the United States, we feed a lot of people around the world, but it's truly an issue of national security for us to be able to do that and do it successfully at an affordable price for farmers that can be profitable, but for consumers as well. So I tell you what, I feel like I'm at the right place at the right time to be able to be part of this.
Yet there are still challenges.
Oh,
you can actually come across the finish line with legislation, but not get it through another chamber, or not get it signed into law by a president. Ag workers, modernization, that's, I know, something you've been working on in the past. The challenge is still there, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you talk to any farmer in the country, practically, of the top 3 concerns they have or issues that they face, the availability of a workforce, people to work on our farms, is usually right up there at the top of the list. We need to have agricultural workers if we're going to have a successful agricultural industry, and so that's trying to solve that problem has been one of my priorities the whole time I've been here. I'm very proud to point out the fact that the largest piece of it falls into the category of immigration, right? So the largest bill, immigration type bill to pass the Congress since 1986, we were able to pass. It was my legislation. Now, you pointed out one of the biggest challenges here, how to get it through the Senate. That's been the stumbling block, and that's true for so many things that we pass in the House. Comes back to that education issue. We've got to be able to convince senators that this is a critical enough issue and a solution that can solve this problem that we have. And we've gotten close. We've gotten very close, but we just aren't quite there yet.
I heard it said one time, a solution looking for a problem. And I don't know that this fits that. I'll let you tell me. But I've heard we could find grizzly bears falling from the sky at some point in time. Is that a solution looking for a problem?
And you're absolutely right. There is a plan in place now by the National Park Service and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service to literally, I'm not making this up, to airdrop grizzly bears into the North Cascades in my district in the state of Washington. They're actually going to bring them in by helicopter and drop them into the middle of the Okanagan. I think that characterization of this is a solution looking for a problem to solve, wow, that couldn't be more accurate. There's been several public meetings, and I got to give the services credit for this, to get the input from the residents of that part of the state. And guess what? Overwhelmingly, they have made abundantly clear they don't want the grizzly bears there. But here's a case where Washington, D.C. knows better than Washington State, and they're going to bring them anyway. They've made the decision, they're moving forward, and no matter what anybody does, they're going to make this happen. So I'm very, very disappointed in the services for not listening to my constituents. And so we're taking action to try to prevent this. We can stop some of it, but I think they're going to come through with some of those airdrops. Some of those flying bears are going to be landing in Okanagan County sometime this summer.
There's so much going on, and instances like this remind us why it's good to have good voices in D.C. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for the work you do. Will you come back and see us?
Oh, absolutely, Tony. I always appreciate it. I always like to tell the story of what's going on here and the frustrations, and sometimes we have successes too.
He's also the chair of the Congressional Western Caucus. When you aren't finding him in Washington, D.C., you'll find him back home, 4th Congressional District of Washington. It's the Honorable Dan Newhouse joining us on today's Agribusiness Report.